Hi friends, myself Subrata Mukherjee and you are watching my channel Dr. Subrata Mukherjee Distance Learning in Commerce. Today we are going to discuss another problem on bad debts and provision for bad debts account. This is the lecture number 3 in this chapter and you can see the other lectures on the same chapter in the playlist section of the channel. On 1st January 2019, Messrs. R&P had a bad debts provision of rupees 13,600. The bad debts during the year 2019 amounted to rupees 11,300. The debtors as at 31st December 2019 were rupees 2,80,000. The firm maintains provision for bad debt at 5%. Bad debts during 2020 and 2021 amounted to rupees 14,600 and rupees 5,200 respectively. The total debtors as at 31st December 2020 and 31st December 2021 were 3,60,000 and 1,70,000 respectively. So the bad debts account, provision for bad debts account, and so how this will be reflected in the balance sheet for the year 2019, 2020 and 2021. Here I am first preparing the provision for bad debts account. So in the books of Messrs. R&P, provision for bad debts account. So in the question it is given that on 1st January 2019 you have a opening balance of provision for bad debt 13,600. So in this account, that is provision for bad debt account, I have to write on the credit side as by balance BD 13,600. Now it is given that by the end of the year 2019, the amount of bad debt amounted to rupees 11,300. So this bad debt will be recorded on the debit side of the provision. So your journal entry is provision for bad debt account debit to bad debt. So here I have to write on 31st December 2019 to bad debts account 11,300. So actually when a bad debt occurs, your journal entry is bad debt account debit to debtors. And the bad debt is a nominal account, so the balance of the bad debt will be transferred to provision for bad debt. So here I have to record in provision for bad debt account as two bad debts 11,300. Now it is given that on 31st December 2019 the amount of debtors is rupees 2,80,000 and your provision is requirement, that is provision for bad debt requirement is 5% on debtor. So to balance CD, that this is the required amount of provision on debtors. So 2,80,000 into 5%. So this is 14,000. So sum total of the debit side is 25,300 and the balancing figure has to be transferred from profit and loss account. So here on the credit side I am writing by profit and loss account 11,700. Now this is basically your balancing figure. Now on 1st January 2020 the opening provision will be by balance BD. This is 14,000 rupees. This is the closing balance in the provision account. In the year 2019, this will be brought down as the opening balance in 2020. Now, on 31st December 2020, it is given the bad debt is 14,600. So here you have to record the amount of bad debt. And at the end of the year, your provision requirement is 3,60,000 is the debtor balance, and 5% of 3,60,000 is rupees 18,000. So this is the amount of provision which is required at the end of the year 2020. So the total of the debit side is 13,600, and the amount to be transferred from PL is the balancing figure, that is by PL, or this is the balancing figure, and the amount is 18,600. So again, on 1st January 21, the opening balance will be 18,000. It is given on 31st December 21. Your bad debt is rupees 5,200. The required amount of provision at the end of the year is 1,70,000 into 5%. So this is 8,500. So the balancing figure has to be credited to PL because your required provision is less than what you have in the balance. So the difference or the balancing figure will be transferred or will be credited to PL account, 4,300. So you can see this account or provision for bad debt in one screen. Now I am going to prepare the bad debt account. So on 31st December 2019, bad debt occurred for rupees 11,300. So your journal entry is bad debt account debit to sundry debtors or to debtors account, 11,300. Now since there is a provision for bad debt, so the balance in the bad debt account will be transferred to provision for bad debt. So here I have to write on the credit side of bad debt account as bad by provision for bad debt account. This is 11,300. So you can see in the provision for bad debt account, this amount was recorded on the debit side as to bad debt. Now on 31st December 2020, again you have to record in bad debt account as to debtors account, 14,600, and the amount will be transferred or get adjusted against the provision for bad debt account. On 31st December 21, you have to record the amount of bad debt as 5,200, and this balance will be adjusted against provision for bad debts. Now I will show you how these figures will be reflected in the balance sheet. So here I am preparing the balance sheet as at 31st March 2019. So this is the abridged balance sheet. So I am writing here liabilities and assets. So only the debtor balance will appear here. So debtors as on 31st March 2019 is 2,80,000, and you have a provision for bad debt of 5%, that is 14,000. So the net debtors is 2,66,000. Then again on 31st March 2020, so this is the balance sheet as at 31st March 2020. You have a balance of debtors of 3,60,000 less provision for bad debts 18,000, that is 5% of 3,60,000. So this is 3,42,000, and balance it as at 31st March 2021. So you have a debtor balance of 1,70,000 less provision for bad debts is 8,500. So 1,61,500 is the balance of debtors. On 31st March 2021, Sunday debtors stood in the books of account of a trader at rupees 50,000, on which provision for doubtful debts at 5% and a provision for discount at 3% were created. On the same date, Sunday creditors showed a balance of rupees 29,000, on which 2.5% reserve for discount was provided. The position for the year ended 31st March 2022 was as follows. Actual bad debts rupees 1,250, actual discount allowed rupees 990, actual discount received rupees 1,100. On 31st March 2022, Sunday debtors and Sunday creditors as appearing in the books of the trader amounted to rupees 38,000 and rupees 36,000 respectively, on which provisions at the same rates as in the previous year are required to be maintained. So, how the transaction would be shown in the ledger accounts? The first ledger that we are preparing here is the provision for doubtful debts account. So, it is given that on 31st March 2021, the first time the provision for doubtful debt is being created. So on 31st March 2021, I am writing here on the debit side as to balance CD. So this is the required amount of provision on Sunday debtors, so which is created at 5% of the debtor balance. So this is 2,500. So this amount has to be debited in your PL account. So on the credit side, I have to record as by profit and loss account 2,500. So on 1st April 21, the opening balance in the provision account will be 2,500. Now during the year 2021-22, that is on 31st March 2022, the bad debt given in the question is 1,250. And on 31st March 2022, the required amount of provision is 5% on the debtor balance, and the debtor balance is at 38,000. So this is 1,900. This is the required amount of provision. And the balancing figure in this ledger will be transferred from PL account. This is 650. Now we are preparing the ledger provision for discount on debtors. So on 31st March 21, the required amount of provision for discount is 3% on the debtor balance. So the debtor balance is 50,000 minus 2,500. So this is the required amount of the provision for doubtful debt. So 2,500 is the amount of provision for doubtful debt which will be reduced from the debtor balance. So 50,000 minus 2,500 into 3%. So this balance is 1,425. And on 31st March 21, this amount will be transferred or debited to PL account. Now on 1st April 21, the opening balance in the provision for discount account is 1,425. Now it is given that on 31st March 22, the amount of discount allowed to debtors is rupees 990. And on 31st March 22, the required amount of provision for discount on debtor will be 38,000 is the balance of debtor minus 1,900 is the provision for doubtful debt into 3%. This is 1,083. And the balancing figure in this ledger will be debited to PL account. So this is 648, which is the balancing figure. So you can compare the provision for discount on debtors with the provision for doubtful debts account. Now we will prepare the provision for discount on creditors account. So it is given that on 31st March 21, the amount of provision for discount on creditor required is 2.5% of 29,000. So this is 725. And this amount will be credited to PL account. Now on 31st March 22, the amount of discount received from creditors given as 1,100. And on 31st March 2022, the required amount of provision on creditors is 2.5% of 36,000. So 900 rupees is the amount of provision required on Sunday creditors. So the balancing figure will be credited to PL account. So this is 1,275. Hope you have recorded the solution of the two questions that today I have discussed here. So if you find any difficulty in understanding, please contact me through email which I have given in the description box. I have also shared the link for the chapter Bad Debt and Provision for Bad Debt, which is there in the playlist section. Thank you. Thanks for watching the lecture.